I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the Imagine Your Game Differently podcast, brought to you by Imagine Golf and PXG. You can go to our site, imaginegolf.com, to see all of our offerings, including our free drills, our free practice plans, our golf ebooks and videos, and soon our new book that's coming out probably in September. Or to book a lesson with me at our state-of-the-art studio right outside of Philadelphia, or even virtually anywhere in the world through our partner, the golfliveapp.com. And you can sign up for our free tips and videos that go out once a week, every week, by simply dropping us your email. All right. Well, look, today's podcast is a simple one. It seems on the surface really simple, but less than 10% of all golfers even do it. 10%, and that's get fit for a putter. Right, Daniel? Do I need to get fit for a putter? I get this question a lot, and so that's the title, right, of the podcast. And if I'm doing a podcast on it, well, then you know the answer already. The answer is hell yes. Hell yes, you need to be fit for a putter. All right. And I got to tell you, the fact that people even ask drives me crazy sometimes. Look, the average golfer, right? The average male golfer shoots around 100, 98 to 100, depending on what stats you believe. And they putt 40 to 42 times. Right? So over a third of their game, 40% of their game, and that's the average, right? Is putting. And by the way, those are the averages of people that keep a handicap. Imagine the weekend warrior. You could add another 10 strokes to that and probably another 5 putts to that. And hell yeah, man, you need to be fit for a putter. It's crazy to me though when we go and then we start this journey, if you would, to consider a new putter, right? And look, here's where I'm going to defend the consumer a little bit, right? At 59 years old, right, when I grew up, there were probably only 2, maybe 3 different types of putters, and there was only probably like half a dozen manufacturers. So you roughly had a choice of about 20 different putters, right? I did some research for the podcast, for this episode, I mean, and I just picked the top 15 putter manufacturers. That's everything from Ping and TaylorMade and Odyssey being the number one, all the way through to Mizuno and Edel and Scotty Cameron and all that. But the top 15, right? And I was blown away. How many putters you think the top 15 companies make, right? I'll give you a second here. And if you're like my wife, she said 100. And if you're like my daughter, she said 30. Right? So, no, there are 378 different models. 378. Let that sink in a little bit. 15 manufacturers, 378 different putters. And that doesn't even include the over 2,000 shafts that are available with these putters, right? So you have almost an infinite amount of combinations that you can make for a putter. And that just blew me away. You talk about a complicated scenario, right? And here's why I really got bent out of shape and this week and decided to do this this podcast. I had a student roll up with a brand new putter, right? And we had just done a putting lesson, probably, I don't know, even 3 weeks ago. And we was doing great. Putter, I mean, everything was great. Not once did I think to myself, hey man, this guy needs another putter. And was putting better than ever before. It went from 45 putts per round to 36 putts per round in just under a couple weeks, right? So he rolls in with a new putter, and I'm like, wow, that's beautiful, right? Tell me about the process. And he's like, well, I went to big box retail, golf retail, that rhymes with golf fallacy, right? And the guy told me I needed a face balance putter. And I'm like, okay, well, how did they get there? He goes, what do you mean, how did we get there? I'm like, well, how did he know that you needed a face balance putter? He goes, well, he asked me, a couple questions. I said, did he see you putt? Well, no. He recommended that, based on our discussion, he recommended a face balance putter. And then he handed me a bunch of face balance putters, and I got fitted for a putter. I said, OMG, man. If that's a fitting, I am Tiger Woods, right? So think about that. And by the way, and the putter he ended up deciding on was almost $500, which I don't have a problem with spending $500 on a putter. But he spent $500 in about a 25-minute session of hitting face balance putters on a perfectly flat mat, if you would, in the store, right? Didn't try anything else, just the face balance putters. And you know where this story is going, right? Now, all of a sudden, we're back up to 39 or 40 putts, right? So, and that was just one. I had another guy come in. This guy used an arm lock putter his entire life. Went and got fitted for clubs, just irons, if you would, and comes back with irons and a putter. And I'm like, hey, tell me about that. How'd that, materialize, if you would? Well, the guy told me that, no one uses arm lock putters anymore, and they're arguably illegal. I was like, oh my God, man. Well, and this was from another big box retailer that rhymes with the PGA whore, right? So I was just shocked again because, number one, that's not true. Arm lock putters, there's been nothing on the radar that says they're going to be banned, for lack of a better. Not to mention, this guy's an amateur Joe, right? Number two, he's a relatively decent putter, and he's been putting all his life. He's in his 60s with this arm lock for like the last at least 25 plus years. And to change that based on, really nothing. I'm trying to think of what he based it on, but really nothing. I was just blown away, right? So what are the options? Well, like we talked about, there's 370. There's probably a total of almost 40 some different manufacturers, probably even more than that if you count some of the boutiques, right? But there's a ton of manufacturers and there's a ton of options, right? There's really only 8 different types of putting models per se, or styles, I should say. And if you take those 8 and you boil those down, then you could probably get them to even 4. The different styles are blades, obviously, mallets, a mid mallet, which is kind of a version of a smaller mallet, if you would, a face balance putter, a toe balance putter, a counterbalance putter, an insert putter, and then the milled putters that are milled from one piece of steel and kind of just milled away, if you would. Scotty Cameron's infamous or famous for the milled putters. PXG makes, they all make them now, I think, at some point, the high-end putters. But those are the 8 different types, right? So first and foremost, we've got to figure out what is the best type of putter for you, the individual, right? Not your individual style and aesthetics, if you would, although that can be important to a lot of people. I in particular, I don't like a big clunky putter looking down, or I don't like looking down upon a big clunky putter, right? So I'll likely be a little stressed out. If I'm stressed out, I don't putt as well. So that does make a little bit of difference. But candidly, based on your setup and your putting style and your biomechanics and what you feel good with and don't feel good with, that determines what can be the best style for you, right? Of the actual putter types, or best type of putter, I should say. And then from there, then we go to the actual shaft, if you would, okay? How tall, how upright do you want to be? Where are you gripping the club, right? Or where are you gripping the putter or the club, whatever. You get the idea, right? That will determine, right, how long the putter should be, how long the shaft should be. And then from there, we get down to the bend of the putter, where that putter actually connects, or where the shaft actually connects to the putter. And again, Christ, there's like another 27, 29 different ways that they can bend a putter, right? From the traditional, if you would. So there are so many choices out there for the consumer, and so many choices typically is code for, man, you can make the wrong decision really quickly, right? Because here's what happens, right? You go in, you decide you need a new putter. And what precipitates that decision? Well, you normally come back from a shitty day on the greens, right? Or a lousy golf trip or something. And you just can't take it anymore. And of course, it's not you, it's the putter, right? So you roll into one of these big box retails and you grab a putter and you start hitting putts. And you know where this is going, man. The one or the putter that you sink the most with, or that feels the best or code for sinks the most with, you buy. All right. And you're on a flat piece of ground, right? Flat piece of carpet, perfectly milled carpet, right? And it's not, you're not lag putting typically. You're not hitting from 40 feet. It's like the standard 3-footer, 6-footer, and maybe an occasional 10-footer or more. But that's it. And then you plop down your $500 and you go on your way, right? That's typically what 90% of all amateur golfers do. Less than 10% of all people that play the game, amateurs, get fit for a putter. It just blows me away. So I had to kind of call it out. And I'm not crapping all over the big box retail, although sometimes I feel I do too much. But because I think most of the people that work at these stores are well intended or have good intentions. Two things: one, they're not trained. They don't know what that is. All right, as far as training, and what from there, it's a matter of, well, they're not trained up well, right? And they don't take any time with the golfer, right? So if they're not trained and they don't take time with the golfer, then what are they going to do? Well, they're just going to, here's the fitting. Try this, try that, try this, try that, try that, try this. How's that feel? Okay, great. Take this up to the counter, give him my name so I get credit for it. Right? I mean, that legitimately is it, man. Absolutely 100%. That's it. So you really can't blame the individuals working there. I guess you could blame the big box or the retailer, right? But at the end of the day, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of choices. I think that is a challenge, right? There aren't thousands and thousands of baseball gloves, right? I played hockey at a pretty decent level, right? There aren't thousands of hockey sticks. There aren't thousands of skates, if you would. Tools that are essential to, playing the game of hockey, if you would. There aren't thousands of choices, right? So at some point, it's gotten a little crazy, if you would, or over the top on the equipment manufacturer's part, right? As an example, I think if I look down here, Seymour Putters, right, which is a great putting company, they have 86 different putters, all right? Cleveland has 44. Even Roll comes in third at 41. Do you really need 86 different choices? Do you really need 44 different? TaylorMade has 41, right? As one manufacturer, do you really need 44? Or if you look at some of the other companies that are specific to putting, Lab Putting as an example, right? The Lab Golf, they only have 5, and they're experts at putting, right? Adele only has 4. So what do these smaller, boutique companies know that the big box retailers don't know? Right? My gut tells me big box retail is just trying to make another shiny object that grabs your attention so that when you roll into that scenario, when you're thinking about putter, that shiny object catches your eye and you buy it, right? Where Dell or Lab, they decide, hey, you know what? There's fundamentals in putting. And once we know how to fit you, if you would, well, there's only really a couple different choices, if you would. That's what my gut tells me. All right. But overall, you need to be futted. You need to be fitted for your putter, right? If nothing else, here's what it's going to do for you, right? Not only is it going to lower your score, period, guaranteed, if it's fit properly, right? But it's going to optimize. And how is it going to lower your score? Well, here's why. It's going to optimize your swing, your putting stroke. It's going to optimize the lie angle. It's going to optimize your face angle. And it's going to optimize and help you roll the ball better. And when you add, and by the way, it's going to improve consistency immensely. And when you add those 4 things or 5 things up, you're going to lower your scores, right? I guarantee it. I've never once in 59 years have seen anybody get fitted properly for a putter and putt worse. Never. I've seen plenty of people, thousands of people, grab a putter, buy a putter, spend a lot of money on putter, and putt worse. And guess what? Buy another putter. Right? Right? My uncle, I used to go to his house as a kid, man. That guy had, I swear to God, he had 12, 15 different putters in. Now, he's a great golfer, but, plenty different putters, always tinkering with his stroke, right? So what's the moral of the story? Well, the moral story is simple, man. Get fit for a putter, all right? One quick stat just to give you here that should kind of wrap this up with a bow, if you would. Look, if your club face is off, and we're talking about like on a 6 to 10 foot putt, right? if your club face is off just 0.5 degrees, you'll miss the putt by a foot, 1 foot. And we've all missed a 1-footer coming back, right? So, all kidding aside, if it's off by just 0.5, so if you double that and you're off by a degree, and that's really easy to do as well, you miss it by 2 feet, and it goes on and on and on. So again, we could have stopped this podcast, 15 minutes ago with just that stat alone. All right. So 40% of your game deserves to be fitted, right? 40% of your game deserves to be updated. If you're playing your uncle's putter, unless it has incredible, sentimental value and that's important to you, switch it out, swap it out, donate it, do whatever, but get some new technology in that bag. All right. I know you'll be happy with you do. I know you lower your scores. I know you'll have a lot more fun on the greens. And that's really what it's all about, right? Having fun and lowering your scores. So, hey, that's all I have for today's podcast. A little quick sidebar here. We recently signed a professional long driver, Jacob Molnar, to our team. And he's actually competing on the World Long Drive Tour. We will be in Atlanta with him this weekend. And we want to wish him the best. I know he's going to do good. The guy is an absolute monster, 27 years old, 6'6", and hits the ball. My God, he was in the sim the other day, hitting it around 437, I think it was, with a ball speed of over 211 miles an hour. So, and that's when we just started working him. That's just pure raw talent. So wish him the best. He's going to be on ESPN this Saturday if we make it all the way through. So, and we're going to do a whole podcast on the World Long Drive event, if you would, and how that came to be. So, listen, I really appreciate everyone listening to the podcast. We're moving up in the ranks. We kind of moved down a little bit because I haven't been as consistent with it, and that kills the ranking, if you would. But whenever we get more consistent cadence with the dates and times, if you would, then it bounces right back. The highest we've gotten to 6. We're hovering around like 11 now in the country. So we really appreciate that, man. And do whatever you can to help us out by, liking the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to check out ImagineGolf.com, our main site. And you can follow us on all the social media platforms. We're on all of them. And as usual, here's to getting you the game and the swing and the putt that you always imagined.